muzzle flash tears the night apart. Bullets rip through the thin walls of the command tent, a savage, staccato rhythm of death. The ambush is perfect, a masterstroke of violence that has pinned down the entire platoon. Inside, a decorated colonel clutches a bleeding wound, his men returning fire into a darkness that only spits back lead and fury. Outside, in the forgotten maintenance corridor, one overlooked janitor scopes the enemy leader through a dust-caked window, her hand steady on a rifle she should not possess. Her name is Rena, and she is about to fire the shot that saves them all, or dies trying. Will she pull the trigger? Where are you watching from? India, USA, UK, Australia? Drop your location in the comments and let us know. Like this story, share it, and comment on what it means to find courage in the most unexpected places. Rena's finger tightens on the cold steel. The world narrows to the crosshairs, to the bearded man barking orders into a radio, to the single heartbeat between oblivion and survival. The recoil is a brutal kiss against her shoulder, a promise kept. The enemy commander's head snaps back, a spray of crimson against the sandbags. Silence descends, a heavy, shocked blanket where the storm had been. For a moment, nothing moves. Then, the panicked shouts of a leaderless enemy, the retreat, the sudden, blessed quiet. Rena doesn't wait for praise. She ejects the casing, wipes the rifle clean with a practiced efficiency that belies her station, and slides it back into the weapons locker she'd cracked open. By the time the first soldiers storm the corridor, they find her with a mop, calmly cleaning the blood that had sprayed from a ricochet, her face a mask of practiced indifference. She is just a janitor. She is invisible. But Colonel Jax saw it. From the shredded command tent, through a sliver of canvas, he saw the impossible shot. He saw the ghost who fired it melt back into the shadows. He didn't see a face, only a silhouette, but he knew the trajectory, the skill. It wasn't one of his men. They were all accounted for, all pinned. He limps toward the maintenance wing, his arm in a makeshift sling, his eyes scanning every shadow. He finds her pushing dirty water into a drain, her movements methodical, almost meditative. He stops before her. "Your name?" he asks, his voice a low growl of gravel and pain. "Rena, sir," she replies, not meeting his gaze. "Sanitation detail," Jax circles her, his gaze missing nothing, the faint smell of cordite clinging to her fatigues, the tiny smudge of carbon on her cheekbone, the unnatural calm in her eyes. "There was a shot," he says, his voice flat. "From this direction. A 1 in 1,000 shot that saved our lives." Rena continues mopping, her knuckles white around the handle. "Lot of shooting tonight, sir," his eyes narrow. He knows defiance when he sees it, even this quiet, stubborn kind. He leaves without another word, heading straight for the personnel archives. He pulls her file. It's thin. Orphaned in the Meridian Valley conflict. Basic civic training. Assigned to sanitation rota. Nothing. But stapled to the inside, almost hidden, is a single sheet with a crimson seal, National Provisional Reconnaissance Command. And beneath it, a single line, subject designated asset of interest. Monitor. Do not engage. Legend Files accessible by O6 command or higher. Jax was an O6. For the first time in years, he felt a tremor of something other than weariness. He unlocks the secure terminal, his fingers flying across the keypad. He enters his credentials, then her service number. The screen flickers, then resolves into a single, heavily redacted file. Most of it is classified, but one word stands out, a ghost from his own past, Project Nightingale. It was a defunct Black Ops program that trained operatives to be ghosts, to blend into any environment, to become so unassuming they could walk through hell itself unnoticed. They were strategists, assassins, and spies of the highest order. The program was supposedly terminated after a catastrophic failure a decade ago. But here was a name linked to it. The next morning, Rena is scrubbing the latrines when two military police officers appear at the door. Rena? Colonel Jax wants to see you. Now, they escort her across the dusty compound, past the stares of soldiers who had never given her a second glance. They see a janitor. A nobody. She walks into the colonel's temporary office, the air thick with the smell of antiseptic and dread. Major Corbin is there, his arms crossed, a sneer playing on his lips. Corbin was a man who believed in pedigree, in the clean lines of command, and Rena was a smudge on his perfect organizational chart. This is her. Corbin scoffs, looking her up and down. The one you pulled from the muck? Sir, with all due respect, this is a waste of time. Jax ignores him, his eyes fixed on Rena. Yesterday, someone made a 700-meter shot in gale force winds with an unscoped service rifle. That someone saved this entire outpost. Was it you? Rena's jaw sets. She gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Corbin bursts out laughing, a harsh, ugly sound. Impossible. She's a cleaner. She probably saw a rat and got lucky. We should be finding the real hero, not indulging this fantasy. Jax slams his good hand on the table. The sound cracks through the tension. The real hero is standing right here, Major. And you will show her the respect her actions deserve. He turns back to Rena. I'm reactivating your latent commission. As of this moment, you're a specialist, assigned to Raptor Squad. Your training begins in 1 hour. He tosses a new set of fatigues onto the desk. They are clean, crisp, and bear the insignia of an elite unit. For the first time, Rena looks directly at him, and in her eyes, he sees not gratitude, but the deep, weary resignation of a ghost being dragged back into the light. She had been safe in the shadows, but now, the hunt was on. The training yard is a brutal theater of sand, steel, and sweat. Raptor Squad, a unit of hardened veterans, watches as Rena approaches. They see what Corbin sees, a woman out of her depth, a janitor playing soldier. Sergeant Pike, the squad's second-in-command, a man with a face like a roadmap of old wars, spits into the dust. You've got to be kidding me, he mutters to his fire team. The old man's finally lost it. Major Corbin stands on the observation deck, a smug look on his face. He designed the day's simulation himself. It was called The Crucible, a high-stress urban combat scenario designed to break even seasoned operators. For a rookie, it was a death sentence. Let's see what our little sparrow can do when the bullets are virtual but the pain is very real, Corbin says to his aide, confident she won't last 10 minutes. Rena is issued a standard rifle loaded with simulation rounds. The air horn blares, and the exercise begins. She moves into the maze of concrete and rusted metal, not with the aggressive swagger of the others, but with the quiet, economic movements of someone who knows how to navigate tight spaces without being seen. She doesn't rush. She observes. The other members of Raptor Squad charge forward, relying on brute force and practiced aggression. One by one, their internal sensors flash red. They're taken out by hidden snipers, by tripwires, by ambush teams they never saw coming. Pike is the last one left besides her, pinned down behind a burned-out vehicle, his rifle clicking on empty. Rookie! Where are you? He barks into his comms. You're useless. Give me your position. There is no reply. He curses, assuming she's already been eliminated, another casualty of the colonel's folly. But Rena isn't hiding. She's hunting. She saw the patterns Corbin scenario used, the predictable ambush points, the lazy rotations of the OPFOR patrols. It was all a system, and like any system, it had flaws. She'd spent years observing the patterns of soldiers on the base, who walked where, who slacked off, who took shortcuts. This was no different. She moves through the shadows, a wraith armed with a rifle. She takes out the first sniper with 2 precise shots to the sensor plates on his chest. She disarms a tripwire with a piece of wire she'd pulled from her own bootlace. She flanks the ambush team that took down Pike, neutralizing them from behind without making a sound. From the observation deck, Corbin watches in disbelief. Her icon on the tactical map moves with an impossible fluidity. She isn't following standard doctrine, she's improvising, using the environment in ways the simulation wasn't designed to anticipate. She is a ghost in his machine. Pike hears the sudden silence. The gunfire that had him pinned has stopped. He cautiously peeks over his cover. The OPFOR soldiers are all lying on the ground, their sensors blinking red. Then, he sees her. She's standing over the last one, her rifle held low, her breathing steady. "Sector clear," she says into her comms, her voice calm and even. She walks over to him. "You're out of ammo, Sergeant." She tosses him a fresh magazine before moving toward the final objective, a fortified bunker at the center of the maze. Pike stares after her, his initial scorn replaced by a grudging, bewildered respect. He wasn't saved by a soldier. He was saved by a janitor who moved like a predator. The final objective is a fortress. Corbin, furious, overrides the simulation's AI and takes direct control of the final defensive wave, throwing everything he has at her. Turrets activate. Heavily armored hostiles flood the entrance. It's an unwinnable scenario. "Let's see you clean up this mess," Corbin snarls under his breath. Rena doesn't try to assault the bunker directly. That's what they expect. Instead, she disappears. For a full 3 minutes, her icon vanishes from the tactical map. Corbin thinks it's a glitch. Jax leans forward, intrigued. Rena has climbed into the ventilation shafts, a route no one else had ever considered. It's a janitor's route. She emerges inside the command room of the bunker, right behind the central objective. The simulation ends. A single blue icon stands victorious in a sea of red. The yard is silent. Raptor Squad, revived from their simulated deaths, stare at the results on the main screen. Objective completed. Time, record-breaking. Casualties, 0. Rena walks out of the maze, her face smudged with dirt, her expression unreadable. Pike approaches her, his helmet in his hands. "How did you know about the ventilation shaft?" Rena looks at him, her gaze direct. The maintenance schematics for this model of prefabricated structure are flawed. The exhaust vents are mislabeled as intake ports. Nobody ever looks, she had cleaned enough of them to know. Corbin storms down from the observation deck, his face purple with rage. She cheated. It's impossible. Jax steps in front of him, his presence an immovable wall. She didn't cheat, Major. She thought. Something your textbook soldiers failed to do. She saw the battlefield for what it was, not what you wanted it to be. He turns to the assembled squad. Specialist Rena is no longer a trainee. She is a full member of Raptor Squad. Dismissed, as the squad disperses, murmuring amongst themselves, Jax pulls Rena aside. "Project Nightingale," he says, his voice barely a whisper. "It wasn't just a training program, was it?" "It was your father's." Rena flinches, the first crack in her iron composure. "He taught me to see the world differently," she says, her voice tight. "To see the systems behind the chaos. He said it was the only way to survive." Jax nods slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. He wasn't just looking at a soldier. He was looking at a legacy. "Your first official mission is in 3 days," he says, his tone shifting back to command. "We're going after the architect of the ambush that nearly wiped us out. An arms dealer known only as the Vulture." You'll be point. He knew it was a risk, throwing her into the fire so soon. But he also knew that some weapons were meant to be used, and Rena was the sharpest weapon he had ever seen. What he didn't know was that Major Corbin, stewing in his own humiliation, was already making a call to a number he shouldn't have, ensuring the Vulture would be more than ready for them. The mission briefing is tense. The target is a fortified compound deep in the Badlands, a place where jurisdiction is a joke and life is cheap. The Vulture runs his arms empire from this fortress, and intelligence suggests he's planning a massive attack on the civilian capital. Infiltration will be a night drop, 2 kilometers out, Jax explains, pointing to a holographic map. Rena, you'll lead the way, find a seam in their defenses. Corbin, your team provides overwatch. Pike, you're on Rena's 6. No mistakes. This one has to be clean, Corbin nods, a thin, predatory smile on his face. Don't worry, sir. We'll keep a close eye on your prodigy, the words are laced with venom. Under the cover of a moonless night, the transport bird flies low and fast. The jump is clean. Raptor squad melts into the rocky terrain, Rena moving with a silence that unnerves the men around her. She reads the landscape like a book, her senses alive to every shifted pebble, every gust of wind. She finds the blind spot just as she knew she would, a drainage culvert obscured by a rockslide, not visible on any satellite imagery but predictable if you understood erosion patterns. She leads them into the belly of the beast. The compound is quiet, too quiet. Pike feels the hairs on his neck stand up. Something's not right, he whispers into his comms. It feels like a trap. Rena puts a hand on his arm, silencing him. She points to a security camera. Its indicator light is off, but she can see the faint infrared glow of its night vision sensor. It's active. They're being watched. Corbin, what's your status? She whispers into her comms. Do you have eyes on the courtyard? Static. Corbin, respond, more static. Then, Corbin's voice, laced with false panic. We're taking fire. Ambush. Our position is compromised. We're pulling back. It's a lie. From her vantage point, Rena can see Corbin's position. There is no enemy fire. He's selling them out. Suddenly, the compound erupts. Floodlights blaze to life, turning night into a cruel, sterile day. Sirens scream. Heavy machine gun nests open up, their fire converging on the culvert, trapping them in a kill box. It was a setup from the beginning. Pike shoves Rena to the ground as a hail of bullets rips through the space where her head had been. We've been sold out, he yells over the din. The rest of the small infiltration team is cut down in the initial volley. It's just them now, Rena and Pike, trapped behind a concrete barrier as the entire fortress bears down on them. We're not getting out of this, Pike says, grimly reloading his weapon. Rena looks at him, her eyes burning with a cold fire he'd never seen before. They expect us to die here, she says, her voice devoid of fear. They expect us to be victims. She pulls a small, non-regulation device from her pack, a high-frequency jammer her father had built. They're watching us on their cameras, coordinating their fire. She activates it. In the enemy command center, the screens fizzle into static. The Vulture roars in frustration. The precise, coordinated attack becomes a blind spray of bullets. That's the opening she needed. They think we're trapped in here with them, Rena says, chambering around. She meets Pike's gaze, a warrior's promise passing between them. They're wrong. They're trapped in here with us. With a primal scream, she vaults over the barrier, not away from the fire, but directly into it, a ghost embracing the storm. Her movements are a blur of deadly grace. She uses the enemy's own cover against them, the chaos she created her greatest ally. Pike, inspired by her impossible courage, follows, laying down a storm of covering fire. He is no longer her guardian, he is her partner in the maelstrom. She fights with a chilling efficiency, each shot a kill, each movement a step closer to the heart of the compound. She is not just surviving, she is dismantling the Vulture's army from the inside out. The haunted past that drove her into the shadows now fuels her righteous fury. She lost her first family to men like this. She would not lose another. She fights for Pike, for the fallen men in the culvert, for the colonel who believed in her. Back at the base, Jax watches the mission telemetry flatline. Corbin enters the command center, his face a mask of feigned grief. "Sir, they were wiped out. It was a trap. I did everything I could." Jax looks at the blank screen, then at Corbin, his eyes like chips of ice. He knows Corbin is lying. He can feel it in his gut. He also feels something else, a stubborn, illogical belief that Rena is not dead. The legend of Project Nightingale was not about dying in a trap. It was about becoming the trap. Inside the compound, Rena and Pike stand over the last of the Vulture's guards. They are bruised, bleeding, but alive. They breach the final door and find the Vulture cowering behind his desk. He looks at Rena, his eyes wide with terror, as if he's seeing a ghost. "Who are you?" he whimpers. Rena raises her rifle. "I'm the janitor," she says. "And I'm here to clean up the trash." The flight back is silent. They have the Vulture in custody, along with a data drive containing every dirty secret, every corrupt deal, including the details of his arrangement with Major Corbin. When the transport lands, Jax is there on the tarmac, alone. He looks at Rena, at Pike, at their prisoner, and a slow, grim smile touches his lips. He knew. Rena walks straight to him, bypassing the medics, and hands him the data drive. "Corbin," is all she says. Jax nods. "I've already confined him to quarters. I was just waiting for the proof." The confrontation happens in the sterile confines of the command center. Corbin stands defiant, flanked by 2 MPs. This is absurd. The word of a traumatized rookie against a decorated officer? She's clearly unstable. Jax slides the data drive into the main terminal. Encrypted audio files play over the speakers, Corbin's voice, clear as day, selling out the mission, negotiating payment, condemning his own men to death. The color drains from Corbin's face. His arrogance crumbles into pathetic fear. "You won't get away with this," he sputters. "I have powerful friends." Rena steps forward. She is no longer the invisible janitor. She stands tall, her uniform torn and stained with the grime of battle, a testament to her trial by fire. "Your friends can't help you," she says, her voice quiet but carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You broke the code. You betrayed your men. There is no coming back from that." Pike stands beside her, his presence a silent, unwavering pillar of support. He had doubted her, but now he would follow her into hell itself. As Corbin is dragged away in cuffs, Jax turns to Rena. "The NPRC Legend Files mentioned your father's last request," he says softly. "That if you ever activated, your call sign would be Nightingale. It's time to accept your legacy, Specialist." Rena looks at the tactical map, at the sprawling conflict zone they were tasked with protecting. Her past was a ghost that had haunted her, but now, she understood it was not a curse, but a legacy. Her father had taught her to see the systems, to find order in chaos, to be the ghost in the machine. Today, she had honored him. Months later, a new squad stands at attention in the training yard. They are the best of the best, handpicked for a new kind of warfare, one that requires not just strength, but intelligence, observation, and the courage to see what others miss. They are waiting for their new commander. Rena walks toward them, her stride confident, her eyes clear. She wears the insignia of a leader, earned not by rank or politics, but forged in the crucible of betrayal and fire. She is no longer Rena the janitor. She is Nightingale, a legend reborn, ready to lead her own soldiers out of the darkness and into the light. Her war was just beginning.